Clarissa and Fergwad too. Those Pete and Pete. We can
Pete and
just
Pete.
keep
You
going.
beat me to
You
it.
know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That might be the top of the list now, Steve. And then he's grabbed by Peter's like zombie hand, and that's where the dream sequence ends.
And he's all for it because he's got his clothes off and he even has a condom on underneath his boxers. Whoa, slow down. You're going to be wearing this cyber suit. And Bud asks, who will I be boinking? And she says, your image of the perfect mate.
Okay.
Happened in the 90s.
Did you know that April 10th is a siblings day? It's an international observation.
I did not. Shout out to my sis. What's up, Laura?
April 10th, give her a call.
I will. Thanks for the reminder, Steve.
I think I'll call my brother and sister. I think.
Okay.
If you think about all the siblings in the 90s, who are some of your favorite siblings
Well,
from
definitely
90s
Tia and
sitcoms?
Tamara, just because of the
Ooh.
twin aspect.
Mm.
I mean, I
Ace-
love Eddie Winslow. I don't love Laura Winslow, but I love,
Yeah.
I love the household. So I'll throw them in there. I mean, anybody that was a sibling on TGIF, basically. I'm into that. And then, honestly, Steve, and this is kind of going meta a little bit or kind of being artistic with the interpretation, but I'm saying I love all the X-Men, Steve, because they're children of Charles Xavier. So,
Yeah, that went left. I'm surprised you didn't mention Niles and Frasier.
yeah. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking children, I guess, but you're right. I
Yeah.
mean, how they're two of the greats. Jackie and Roseanne also, Steve.
I like their sisterhood.
Yeah,
It's a strong bond.
it's
And
an
and
honest one. I've seen that relationship in real life. You know what I mean?
and despite how I feel about one of the brothers in real life, I really like the Taylor brothers. Tim's kids
Oh yeah, I mean in show, I mean
in show.
it's a
Yes.
great, the youngest one a little bit of a chud, but we'll give Mark a pass. He tried to live under the shadow of JTT, so
That's not fair.
it's not cool at all. But that you're still gonna get some hot like side sniz off of his
And,
like throwaways. You know what I'm
and
saying?
in real life, we know who the real chud. Brad's the real one.
Yeah, I mean that guy just can't stop losing. I think he's currently in jail. So Brad, if you're watching this on some sort of prison computer, you know, God bless. I hope you
Stop hitting
get your
women.
shit together. Get it together, dude. Hey Tim, go fucking talk to this kid and get him back on the right track. Okay.
Uh? And shout out to the Tanner girls. I always thought they were cool.
Yeah. I don't know, Steve. I'm just more of a Stephanie guy now as an older gentleman.
I've always been a Stephanie guy,
Yeah.
but I had no problem with DJ and Michelle. Michelle, she was the showstopper, like HBK.
I mean,
Halfway through
yeah. And she's like the HBK of children actors too. Well, they both are because
Hey,
they made
yeah.
it through not unscathed because they look really affected, but still they're like alive. And I think they're both married to like rich, like European dudes. So that's cool, you know?
Even though it started in the 80s, it ended in the 90s. I always wanted to be a Huxtable. Claire, she reminds me of my grandmother, fashionable, very stern on education. And, they were a good role model family for the black youth, I felt, growing up in the
Oh,
80s and
yeah,
90s.
dude. The children of a doctor. I mean,
And a lawyer.
and
Yeah.
a lawyer. It's yeah, that's a fucking two blue chip fucking careers for parents. Just don't eat the barbecue sauce. Everybody goes to sleep after they eat. That was
And
weird.
honorable mention to Alfie and Dee Dee, too, even though it lasted
Yeah,
a
of
handful of
course. I
seasons.
mean, we can't. It just sucks because there was like not that much to go off of. But hey, Clarissa and Fergwad too. Those Pete and Pete. We can
Pete and
just
Pete.
keep
You
going.
beat me to
You
it.
know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That might be the top of the list now, Steve. I think Tia and Tamara are gonna have to get thrown to the side. Sorry, ladies.
Happy Siblings Day, everybody. This is Steve G and Mad G with Happened in the 90s, a show where we talk about what happened in the 90s. So get out your Ninja Turtles and your Ninja Gaiden 2. And get up, get up, get down. 911 is a joke in your town. Get up, get down.
Happened in the '90s, y'all.
Today, my friend, we're talking all things April 10th in the 90s. Yeah, boy! Starting off in 1990, Public Enemy released their third album, Fear of a Black Planet, and the world would never be the same again.
I mean, this has got to be top 5 albums of all time, Steve.
I mean, it's in the Library of Congress, man. I think it's gone multi-platinum at this point, and it was a big deal sampling wise because this was still during the golden age where you can get samples without needing clearance. And the production on this album specifically, they created a sonic wall. Their production team, the Bomb Squad, there's so many samples that if they tried to do that in modern times, Public Enemy would be owing $5 per album.
That's
That's
hilarious.
yeah.
Damn. Right before everybody figured out how to squeeze that for all
That
like all the money out of music. Yeah.
those lawyers, man.
But this I mean, dude, and also like this album has 20 fucking tracks on it, which is crazy for any album. But I mean, most of these are hitters, and this has, I mean, is Fight the Power is on this, right?
Fight the Power is on this, even though it came out the summer before on 4th of July, and Spike Lee made this video for Do the Right Thing. He reached out to Chuck D and wanted him to make a song for his new movie. He did the video. It's a classic. It came out on 4th of July of 89. He even starts off the first verse, 1989.
Dude,
Um,
I mean, it's one of the greatest rap songs of all time.
one
It's
of the greatest videos, man. Even though it came out in 89, it's the last track on this album. Elvis was a hero the most, but he never meant shit to me. See, straight up racist. The sucker was simple and plain. Motherfuck him, man, John Wayne.
hell yeah, dude. And you get Flavor Flav, who has become this weird character now, but one of the greatest hype men of, if not the greatest hype man of all time. He made that.
He,
He's part of this, you know.
he's the GOAT. He's a big part of this formula, man. You know, and this comes off the tails of controversy because they just let go of Professor Griff for saying some stuff about Jewish people in media, and they had to have an ultimatum. You let them go or you're done.
Yeah,
So they had
that sucks, but that's what happens when you actually are trying to deal with like a business, you know. Like if they were just like producing their own shit, they wouldn't be out here like this. Maybe I don't know. There's something to be said for that. I wonder if they knew what like the guys who were making like selling mixtapes out of their trunk and stuff and making millions of dollars. Like I guess that wasn't possible back in the day.
Oh yeah, you needed the machine. On that same day, 1990, A Tribe Called Quest would release their debut album, People's Instinctive Travels in the Paths of Rhythm.
I came on to Tribe Called Quest late, Steve. I love Q-Tip. I love everybody. I love most of the songs I hear, but like I said, this album specifically, I only know off the top of my head, "Can I Kick It?"
Can I kick it?
Which is like a timeless song, and I think they're like using it in like ads on TV and stuff, which is probably how I've been reminded of it. But yeah, still great. One of the greatest like rap groups of all time.
Bonita Applebum. I left my wallet in El Segundo. Left my wallet in El Segundo. And for our generation, it was Kanye. Kanye was the guy who represented the everyday man, the everyman. He
Yeah,
wasn't a gangster. He wasn't a dope boy. He wasn't considered like a player or a pimp. He was just a regular guy. He dropped out of college. He would have been one of the guys at the House on Napoleon. Like, oh yeah, Kanye. He's
yeah.
the guy wearing all the expensive
Shy,
clothes.
fucking just, but still talented as. I mean, honestly, dude, I've been listening to Kanye a lot. Those first 3 albums are some of the greatest. Like out in my, but they just have like a place in my heart. So shout out to Kanye. We don't want to get too much into that. Dude went
No,
off the right, left, and right end.
but I'm only bringing that up because A Tribe Called Quest, they were those guys for the older generation. You know, they when they came out, we were still like little kids. I was familiar with some of the tracks, you know, especially Can I Kick It, but they were not NWA, they were not Dre and Snoop, they weren't Ice T, none of those guys, not
Well,
LL Cool
lighthearted
J.
for sure. It's like I don't know. There's like it's more of like a just like have fun and like get high music.
Yeah,
It's not a great. You can't like work out to a lot of this stuff. I mean, you could, but it's still fucking awesome, dude. And Q-Tip's one of the best like lyrics. He just has like a cool vibe. Every time it's just like relaxing. I don't know. It's like silky jazz, Steve.
That's his vibe, man. Definitely one of the greatest producers in hip hop. That following year in 1991, Wonder Years airs season 4, episode 19, The Yearbook. Kevin gets framed by RFK's class elite when he joins the yearbook committee.
Yeah. Another proof, Steve, Kevin Arnold is trash. Because this kid is a fucking asshole, Steve. Kevin, shame on you. We do get a couple of cameos in this episode, which I love. So we'll get to them. And also, one thing that they nailed, Daniel Stern narration of this is just on point. It's such a right. It just makes the episode. You're just sitting there
Yeah.
like, okay, all right, let's see what goes here. And then this one, this hit a little hard for me. I'm sure it did for you, Steve. But any kid who's been to junior high knows one universal truth: image is everything. Just like Andre Agassi said.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
who you appear to be, not even who you are, just who you seem to be.
In junior high, I seemed to be a cool kid that wore a Grand Hill Pistons jersey and some Fila's on the first day of 8th grade, feeling like a G. Feeling really cool, honestly, which is not necessarily what I would call Kevin Arnold, but definitely not what, we see here, which is a guy named Peter who's very familiar, Steve. He's known as Peter here, the pig, but in other realities, or maybe during the summer, he's known as Donkey Lips. You know what I'm saying? He's not wearing a jersey. He's wearing an ill-fitting shirt that's close to having some hot dog stains of some kind on it because he's inhaling at least 3 to 5 hot dogs in front of everybody.
5 hot dogs. Gotta get my ketchup too. Oh, I got some napkin in my food. Guess I gotta eat that too.
It's fibrous. Yeah, they call him Pig. He's the fat kid, but I was a fat kid. I was a shy fat kid. He's not very shy, Steve. But I find, and this is what I wanted to say to you, in 90s TV, there were two kinds of fat. There was the sad Angus fat, where you were shy and fat and shunned. But then there were some fat elite kids who became bullies. So that's really the two places fat people had in these kind of shows. And here, I guess you could call him a shy kid, but he's just living his life, Steve. He's just living his fattest, just enjoying a hot dog or 5, and not really giving a fuck what all these junior high kids think. They don't know.
He uses his jokes on himself as a defense mechanism. I'm familiar with that as my ears. I would try to beat somebody to the punch. Like, yeah, I already know. I already know. Okay, they're big. Dumbo. I heard it. Shut up.
I just be like, yeah, I get it. I look like Donkey Lips. Okay, I get it.
Yeah.
I'm not out here eating fucking hot dogs. But Pete's not giving a shit, Steve. Kevin is. Kevin, his gross friend Paul, who for some reason we were told throughout history, was actually Marilyn Manson at one point, and he's not. He's just ugly. And for some reason, we thought he became Marilyn Manson. But shout out to Paul. And then we meet the Zach and Kelly of RFK, and not the one that has the crazy voice that we have to listen to now, the good one.
Daddy.
His daddy. They're not Romeo and Juliet, but they might as well be. Their names are Brad Patterson and Marcy Doran. And basically, they're the king and queen of this junior high, Steve. They have like a glow.
And they also run the yearbook. And when you run the yearbook, you got all the clout. You got all the juice.
Yeah, dude. You could affect people's reputation possibly for the rest of their lives if we believe what we're told later in this episode. It was destiny. These people were destined to be winners. He's the captain of the football team, Steve. Her dad owns a corporation.
Oh.
And owns a corporation. They're both running a yearbook, which is basically the sole publication of any child. So they're winning in publication already at a young age of whatever they are. And just to speak on what we've seen thus far, they're not inhaling a bunch of hot dogs openly. So they're winning in that way too. They have their self-respect still.
They eat celery and curds and whey and shit. And
Yeah.
now they're in class and they're passing a note around. And Kevin, he sits between Marcy and Brad. So he plays messenger. Brad gives Kevin the note to pass. And right as he gives the note to Marcy, the teacher catches him. And it's one of those, you care to share what's on that note, Arnold? And Arnold, being on his toes, thinking on his toes, he reads the note out loud, but it's not what's actually on the note. On the note, it says, this class is so boring, but he reads out a grocery list, a dozen eggs, a carton of milk. Is that all, Kevin Arnold? No. It also said Panantaloaf.
Yeah, I mean, you can't throw the cool kids under the bus, Steve. So he's thinking on his toes. He got through it. And now that's the open door you need to get into the cool club. You know what I mean?
Because Marcy and
Chill.
Brad, they're impressed.
I like how you lied. Maybe we could use that. They're about to be CEOs, so they're into conniving people, and they see a useful property here in Kevin Arnold. They're like, we could really manipulate this little ugly kid to do something. I don't know, just keep him around, you know.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. We want this to be the best yearbook ever. We could use you for quotes.
Okay, you want me to get a recorder and just like get, there's that's all he gets right now. But they're like, look, it's a lot to go over. Come over to Brad's later. We're gonna do a little brainstorm sesh, little yearbook sesh. Come on over. And Darcy or Marcy or whatever the fuck her name is, she gives him an address. I mean, this is like getting some digits, Steve.
Yeah.
You don't have any chance, but I mean, I'd get tingly inside if I was Kevin at this point. I'd be like, dude, I'm about to be in this upper echelon. This is
Well,
it.
Paul's tingly because he's just like, well, if they invited you to their house, what are you going to say? What are you going to do? What are you going to wear?
Fucking damn, Paul. Ah, dead. He's in leather pants.
You see, he's all about because this is eighth grade, I guess, or junior high. I don't know if it's seventh or eighth, but like he's still into the drinking the Kool Aid and being a part of the cool kids. And for me, I think I checked out and stopped giving a damn about that probably sophomore year.
You just don't want to be a fucking loser. You know what I mean?
You
I
didn't
think
want to be
that's
that.
really more than anything. You just don't want to be that. So I didn't really necessarily like because I didn't like a lot of the cool kids that by the time we were of that age. So maybe that it was just like outsider syndrome. I don't know, or maybe they were
No,
just douchebags. Either way.
you and that's exactly what it is. You come to a point of clarity where it's like these so-called cool kids are pretty fucking lame.
Yeah, and also you're in high school or something, and you don't realize sometimes when people don't talk to each other. Like there was a guy in our high school named Pat Gill, right? He was had a locker always next to ours because he
Yeah.
was right in between us, like alphabetically. I thought that guy hated me, and then when we graduated, he's like, "Dude, it's fucking cool. You're in band and this and that." I was like, "This guy's actually like, you just never talk to people, and you don't want to like
Yeah.
make yourself throw yourself out there or whatever." But Kevin
Fuck
and
Pat.
Paul, they're not there. You can say what you want. I just remember that guy, whatever. He probably was a douchebag. He was from Perrysburg. But, Paul is all about this. And Kevin's like, dude, like, okay, I'll figure this out. So we cut to the meeting. Kevin, he's got like Kmart fashion. Well, he shows up. He's got his best sweater on, Steve. The best sweater he could find. I don't know where he got that. Maybe Dillard's. Maybe like high class Dillard's. But he looks okay. He's sitting there, and this is the elite squad, Steve. This is all the cool kids, the hot kids. We see another cameo in here. Blinking and miss it, Jonathan Brandis sighting. He's one of the cool kids, and why not? Why wouldn't he be? You know?
And Brad, he's actually played by Chad Allen. I don't know if you recognize him, but he's been in a lot of stuff. I remember him from the Wilford Brimley show back in the day called Our House, and he was like one of the grandkids. And Shannon Doherty played his sister. But yeah, that's
Our house. When you're with a new squad, especially the cool kids, Steve, and you get in there, you're by yourself basically. This is like being like some sort of like jury trial where you're just the spotlight's on you, and he's sweating because they're like, well, Kevin, where's the quotes? I'd be like, first of all, am I supposed to like make up quotes? Because I thought I was supposed to get quotes. So I'm not, I didn't bring any like work, but they're like, no, we need quotes for everybody. So what about so and so? And he's sitting there for like 15 minutes just inhaling cheese puffs and like trying to stall and he can't figure anything out. And Brad's like, all right, dude, well, you boned this, but this next one, I'm sure it's going to be a banger. Wow us. And we're like, what kind of pressure is that? You know?
Peter Armbruster. And then he sits there and he's thinking, then all of a sudden it hits him like a bolt of lightning. Let's eat. I think Jonathan Brandis' only line in this. He has probably like 2 lines. He's like, "Let's eat." That's hilarious.
Woo! This kid hit somebody else. Get the kid with cerebral palsy. Say something. Like, but that's all it takes, Steve. A nice fat joke, and you're in. And I mean, that's really the curse of being fat. You're always that, right? You're the person where that's the easy go to. You know what I'm saying?
And that's also the curse of being the cool kid because sometimes it's cool to be evil piece of shit.
Yeah, and I mean, he just wants to fit in, basically. These douches. But, I'd hang out with Jonathan Brandis. In a couple years, he's going to be putting on a wig and playing soccer for a girls' soccer team. I tell you. My, my stepson needs a fucking tampon, I tell you. So, Kevin's a good kid. So he does this. Cut the next day, he's dressed, the attire's kind of gone to country club. He's got the sweater, he's like going to play tennis, have a nice spritzer of some kind. But he's dying inside because he's like, dude, I should not have like shit on Peter like that. That's kind of like fucking fucked up move. He's having second thoughts about that.
And while he's thinking that, Peter runs into him in the cafeteria again, and he's like, "You missed the show. I laughed so hard, milk came out of my nose." Kevin.
Jesus, Pete. It's like he has like baloney on his shirt. It's just like, God damn it. I was right, but it's just not right. It is right, but it's not. They have to pair up in gym. He's trying to avoid Pete because he's like, well, maybe if I don't have to look at him, I won't have to like feel terrible about it. But in gym, they get paired up because nobody else wants to pick them. And so Kevin gets put in the danger zone of anybody who has to pair up with a fat kid, which is holding his feet while he does sit-ups because you're going to get farted on. I mean, you might get blasted with some shit, honestly. There's a lot of pressure.
Man, smelling that beefaroni. And
Sorry.
and he's struggling doing those sit-ups.
Dude.
I guess I'm worse at dodgeball. Get it? It's a joke because I'm fat.
Son of a bitch. Kevin's like, maybe I don't need to feel bad about this. He's cool. But it just keeps eating away at him, It's like the telltale heart. He's like, God, I'm shitting on this kid. So we cut to another yearbook meeting. He's like, hey, guys, cool kids. Remember that Peter quote, the let's eat thing? I'm not feeling great about that. It's not my best work. Maybe we need to cut that. It's kind of messed up. And they're like, okay. But he can tell, like, they're not feeling that. They don't like that. And somebody's like, it's the best line, dude. Like, why would we cut that? And Brad's like, all right, dude. Like, if you got something better, wow. It's basically like, wow us again, bro. So now double pressure. And he's sitting there like, oh shit, I don't have anything better than that. Like, he's fat, he sucks at sit up. What can I use? What's good? Again, he goes deeper into just the well of just shitty fat jokes, and he goes more basic, Steve. He's like, hey, instead of being like, let's eat, kind of vague, let's just throw oink oink and just really lean into the pig.
Oh,
this fucking guy, dude.
That's perfect, dude.
Bro, you are fucked up in the head, but that's gonna be funny as fuck. So now, I mean, dude, come on, Kevin. Oink oink, bro. You piece of shit.
Kevin Arnold is trash.
And then that night, because I mean, obviously now it's eating him alive inside. We're treated to a very melodramatic dream sequence where Kevin is transported to some distant future where he's old. Peter's dead and he's going to some funeral in some like Beetlejuice graveyard. It's very like have you ever seen the Christmas Story, Steve? It's like when he like fantasizes about being poisoned by his parents. He's like, I didn't know. And the parents are like, we're so glad you're here. We didn't think he had any friends. Oh God. And Kevin puts some flowers by this gigantic headstone that says oink oink on it, Steve, conveniently. I mean, it really went all the way to the grave with that. And then he's grabbed by Peter's like zombie hand, and that's where the dream sequence ends. But it's like, it's over, Steve. He can't. He's being eaten alive by guilt.
And he wakes up in cold sweats. And the next day in class, like he wants to talk to them about the quote. And he's like, we should change it because it's just not right. But Brad tells him it's out of our hands, bud. We can't do anything about it.
My bad. Send it to the printers. So it's already done. You can't change it. There's no calls that we can make. There's no process to change this once it's been done. It's actually being printed on stones that then are being pushed on. This is a crazy process they go to. So sorry, but your
Yeah.
amazing joke is going to be immortalized on paper. So thanks, but sorry about
But
that.
it's just not right. Like it's we shouldn't put that out there. And then one of them like agrees, like, you know what, he's right. Well, you know what, Kevin, we'll take care of it. Don't worry about a thing. And then as class ends, he gets called into the vice principal's office. The vice principal asks, "Did you think you could get away with this prank?
You
Did you think
sick,
this was funny?"
you sick son of a bitch. What kind of sick person does something like this? And turns out, Steve, Brad and Darcy, they turncoated this kid, turned him in, and made it seem like Kevin was responsible for the whole thing. And honestly, they're not far off. You know what I'm saying? He came up with the jokes.
Yeah.
He's the one that came out of his mouth. So they just put a word to page. And yeah, they could have just, had the better judgment to not do it, but they've pinned all of the blame on Kevin. So he's sitting there by like, this is like the cops coming at you as far as the kid's concerned. You're like, this is going to be on my permanent record.
Yeah.
That vague thing that they kept using as a threat to us as kids. That's going on your permanent record. I was told that many times, and I was like, can I see the record? Like, what's the record? What's on it?
I got priors.
Yeah. So Kevin's in this shit where he's like, I got to get out of this, but I can't. Like, he still doesn't want to like throw these assholes under the bus. So he's like, you know what? Sorry, man. My bad. He just takes the blame. You know what I'm saying? Takes the detentions, takes it all. But to his credit, when he leaves, he searches out the cool kids. It's like, hey, man, like, it's crazy. Like, I got called into the office. He said I did it, and yeah, it was this whole thing. It seems like you guys blame me, but he still doesn't like. He should have just whooped that ass. You know what I'm saying, Steve? But he
Because they're just shrugging it off. Well, it's no biggie. Don't give it a second thought. He gave me a week's detention. Oh, sorry about that.
I mean, you got a week to just chill, It's chill time, dude. Maybe think about some cool stuff that you want to do. Like us. That's what we're doing all the time. But anyway, we got to go. And he's like, well, when's the next meeting for the yearbook? And they're like, that's a thing. We got everything that we needed out of you as a person. So you're out. Okay. We're going to keep doing those meetings, but you're not invited anymore. Okay. You suck.
You're a pretty funny guy though. Wait, so I took the rap and all you can say is I'm a pretty funny guy?
You pieces of, and I mean, this is where he realizes, Steve. I'm a mark. You know, I mean, we all have to face up to this. Sometimes you get used, Steve. So Kevin,
Mark ass Mark.
he's a mark. He's a bitch ass mork ass trick, as they say on the West Coast. And it is what it is. He got used up, but he still has Marilyn Manson in the future, Paul to hang out with. Paul's cool. He's always going to be there. And he still has Peter, who he gets to see at the water fountain, who just continues to kind of be fat. He's like, I love this water stuff. It's so great. And he's like, sitting there, he's like, well, maybe I should tell him what I just did. I want some credit for this. Like, I feel like I did something nice and he should know. So, like, I can hold that over this fat kid because he's a piece of shit. But Peter's like, hey, man, just call me the pig. Everyone does. Manto's fresh and full of life. So he's cool with it. When it's like he's like, well, if this kid's cool with it, he's just living his life. Peter, he lives up by the beat of a different drum, and he doesn't care what these people think. And maybe I shouldn't either. Because they suck.
He feeds into it.
And then I think, Steve, as we cut away from as we go into the credits of this, if I'm not mistaken, there's a Randy Newman song that's playing at the end of this that is just hilarious. And we all
Red
love it.
headed lady reaching for an apple.
Takes a long hand, look at Randy.
I didn't realize that was Randy Newman, man. But despite Fred Savage being a piece of shit, I still appreciate the show, the dynamic of the whole family, the dynamic between him and Paul. And, of course, there's always Winnie.
Dude, I'll tell you one thing I did forget, that just a quick shout out. There's an older sister in the Arnold household that I did forget about, that I was like, damn, she could definitely, whatever her
Yeah.
name is, she could definitely get it.
She was also the teacher in Big Green. I don't know if you saw that.
Oh, why will you have me hop up on this dick now?
There you go. Somebody who probably didn't watch this episode of Wonder Years in 1991 is American actor Kevin Peter Hall.
Kevin Peter Hall, Steve. Who's that?
And we discussed him recently, not too long ago, man. I'll give you 2 hints. Arnold Schwarzenegger, John Lithgow.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, John Lithgow, Steve.
Well, Kevin Peter Hall, who stood at a 7'2" height, was the original Predator, as well as Harry from Harry and the Hendersons.
Oh, legend. That's
Yes.
crazy. 7'2", you said?
7'2", and he would make appearances on 227, where he would eventually meet his wife. The character that he married on the show, they got married in real life, and around this time is when he passed, and he died from AIDS due to a blood transfusion.
That's a bitch.
Yeah.
I don't that's gotta be one of the biggest fuck yous in life, is to just get a blood transfusion. Like, oh, sorry about that. Sorry. That's a tough one. And I had to get multiple blood transfusions in my life. And if somebody was like, hey, by the way, we just gave you AIDS blood by accident, I'd be like, I'm going to kill everything.
Yeah, as you should, man. I mean, thank God technology has improved since then, and we don't hear about this as much. And luckily for people who do have AIDS, they're not dropping off like flies like they used to. They're
It's
able to
like the
stick
flu,
around.
I think. They basically have that thing to the point where it's just like a manageable disease. It's like diabetes almost, where they're like, if you just stick to this, you're fine.
Yeah.
You don't got to have magic money.
But R.I.P. Kevin Peter Hall. That following year, 1992, The Player premieres. A Hollywood studio executive is being sent death threats by a writer whose script he rejected. But which one? Directed by Robert Altman, starring Tim Robbins, Greta Scacchi, Fred Ward, Whoopi Goldberg, Brian James, and Cynthia Stevenson.
I think Peter Gallagher and his big ass eyebrows are also in this movie.
He is. There are multiple cameos throughout this movie.
I've never seen this, Steve. And I will be honest with you and say to you that Tim Robbins is not bringing me to see a movie if he's the main person. He's been in a lot of goods, but if I see him initially in a movie, I'm like, I don't know, maybe I'll wait for that one to come out.
That's fair.
I
I get
feel
it.
like that's the general vibe, and that I feel bad about that because he's been in Shawshank, he was in Jacob's Ladder, he's been in a lot of great movies. And I'm speaking to you calmly right now as somebody who realizes that Tim Robbins is a great human being and a great actor, Steve.
He used to smash Susan Sarandon, so you get Hall of Fame for that.
I would love to know what that was like too. So on a just personal note, Tim, I would love to talk to you and maybe apologize for me saying what I just said.
I
But
get it.
this movie sounds cool. It's directed by Robert Altman, who's a legendary director. You got a bunch of hitters in this. A bunch of different. It seems like it's a black comedy, so there's a lot of comedy centric Whoopi's in this. Fred Ward. Yeah, all these people are kind of like, I don't know if Fred Ward's necessarily like first comedy, but it sounds good.
Man, I could have done without it. I watched it. One cool thing about this movie, though, is that the film has more Oscar winning actors and actresses in the cast than any other movie in history. There were 12: Cher, James Coburn, Louise Fletcher, Whoopi Goldberg, Joel Grey, Angelica Houston, Jack Lemmon, Marlee Matlin, Tim Robbins, Julia Roberts, and Susan Sarandon.
One, I think what that comes from is like the Woody Allen effect, where it's like a director that people want to work with, so they'll just like everybody will work with them. And Robert Altman, more because I think he's better because he's not a child molester, but I think he's one of those guys where people are just like chomping at the bit to act in a movie that he directs. And I don't know, it just never caught me personally. It's
Yeah.
just not something I don't even remember hearing about this. But when I'm going through all the info, I mean, if you look at the awards and nominations that this movie has, it's insane.
Yeah.
So
It
clearly
just
somebody liked it.
it just wasn't my vibe. But on that same day in 92, Sleepwalkers premieres. A mother and son team of strange supernatural creatures move to a small town to seek out a young virgin to feed on. Directed by Mick Garris, starring Brian Krause, Madchen Amick, and Alice Kriege.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm you're gonna find something back in the day, and I mean this is still kind of true. Stephen King adaptation movies, there's a lot of garbage out there. This one, I gotta say, I told Steve this before we started recording. When he said we were gonna watch this was on the list, I was like, oh cool, because what I thought this was the movie Sleepers with Robert De Niro, Jason Patrick, a nice crime drama, not a movie about vampires, Steve. I hate vampire movies for the most part, except for the '90s movie Vampires with James Woods. Dope. But this movie sucks. I love Stephen King, so Mr. King, shout out to you. You're one of the most prolific American writers of all time, one of the most successful writers of all time. But your movies, for the most part, just not hitting the way they should. The writing, fantastic. This though, mm, mm,
Yeah.
shame on.
Yeah. Can't really put the blame on him,
Clive
but
Barker's in this though, Steve. I don't know if you know that. He's a forensic tech in the movie, but Clive Barker, horror legend who directed Hellraiser movies, or at least wrote them. I think he directed the first one.
somebody who probably didn't watch this though is American comedian and actor Sam Kinison. He would die at the age of 38
Ow, ow, ow. How'd he die, Steve?
from a deadly car accident.
Yeah, yeah. Tragic, dude. Tried, and this guy, I mean, he's hilarious. He was hilarious, I think, for a time when we were like kind of age and like aware of him. I think he'd become more of like a circus act where he just had like women in chains that he would go out just kind of do
Yeah.
like a sort of standard scream at the audience shtick. But for a while, this guy was on top of the world, dude.
He was getting his band involved too because he was into the rock and roll, and he was living a rock and roll lifestyle, but he died just as he was getting his shit back together, living a sober life because he was knee deep in that bottle, man.
Yeah.
And that isn't that the case a lot of times when people are trying to right the ship, something just
Well, I mean, this guy had just a really prolific and crazy life because he was the son of a preacher, which you could kind of tell.
right,
He was like actively had done like he was a preacher, had done like sermons and stuff, like actual
right.
religious stuff. So he had that in his blood. He was like a showman like that, and then he got into comedy. And an interesting thing that I'm very into comedy. So sometimes I just have these little tidbits, but something that I've read has been pointed out in a lot of other podcasts. I think it was written about in a book that his brother, because he had a brother, I think, and he wrote a book about Sam Kinison. But what happened to Sam Kinison at an early age was he was, I think, either like in another car accident, or hit by a car, and it changed his personality. They said he went
Mm,
from being like a completely straight laced guy to more of like a crazy. It's almost like what the definition of CTE is, but it just ended up kind of being his superpower in comedy. And I
mhm,
always thought that was kind of crazy. It was like how this guy's life changed, and it actually propelled or catapulted him into like superstardom. Because in the '80s, dude, for like 5 years, I mean, this guy was everywhere. He was like on Howard Stern all the time. He was the
yeah,
cool comic. He would fuck around and like he had him and Dice had like a little beef that everybody was kind of into back in the day.
that was
They lived
hilarious.
together. There was a mansion that everybody that like was in the Comedy Store at that point with Mitzi Shore, who was like the owner of that, Pauly Shore's mom.
Ollie's mom.
She
Yeah.
owns a mansion that's like directly on the hill behind the Comedy Store, and for a long time, like Kinnison would live there, Dice Clay would live there, Mark Maron, who was deeply affected by Sam Kinison because he started hanging out with like Sam Kinnison's whole squad because he did coke.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of crazy stories there too. But yeah, dude, tragic. It's one of these where it's like a comedian where if he had another his lifetime to be a comedian, who knows? You know.
Who knows, man? The possibilities are endless. That following year, 1993, the positively true adventure of the alleged Texas cheerleader murdering mom premieres. Wanda Holloway tries to hire a hitman through her ex's brother to kill either or both a cheerleader and her mother. With the intended victims out of the way, Wanda's daughter gets the chance to become a cheerleader. When the media gets a hold of the story, Wanda's trial turns into a media circus. Directed by Michael Ritchie, starring Holly Hunter, Beau Bridges, and Swootsy Kurtz.
Never seen it, Steve. What's it? What? Like, give me the lowdown. How is it? It seems like people love this.
It was a good movie. I think it was done in the style of I, Tonya. Have you ever watched that movie?
Yeah, absolutely, great movie.
It's done in a way where they're kind of giving their personal monologue. They're talking directly to the camera, like Office style or something like that. While the events are happening, they're kind of like giving you their take, and then they go back to the story. But
Love that.
there's this one scene that stands out, and I never knew where this came from. I think it's going viral, but there's a clip where Swootsy Kurtz, she's like a trailer trash, and she shouts to Beau Bridges, who she's like dating, "A bitch is a dog, not a woman." But she says it in such this like bojangled way, and I know I've seen that clip before, but it's from this movie.
Okay,
A bitch is a dog, not a woman.
it's
It's
very
kind of turtle
memeable.
funkish.
But this is another proof that HBO's had its shit together for a while because this is like a movie they made. This is early
Yeah,
'90s or whatever, and people seem to love this. And this was at a time where I don't think the people. This sounds kind of like groundbreaking a little bit because of that like style. You know,
it
I'm sure
is,
there's been
man.
many movies like that, but they're using it still to this day, like you said in that movie I, Tanya. It seems about the same kind of thing where they're like, this is an entertaining way to show like a news story in a movie.
Yeah. Well, shout out to
Crazy fucking
HBO.
story though. I mean, that's nuts, dude. Cheerleader murders. That's fucking crazy.
Available on YouTube. 1995, Married with Children is airing season 9, episode 23, user friendly. Bud gets hooked on a virtual reality sex experiment to revitalize his sex life with Amber until she and Kelly find out and plan to stop him. Meanwhile, during this week long vacation, Al becomes obsessed with an electrical switch that has an unknown function. Hilarity ensues.
Oh my god. Great episode. And touches on some fun stuff that we got to go through as kids too, Steve, in terms of like the internet and the cyber sex and whatnot. So love this episode. And love just off the bat, Steve. Christina Applegate walks in, and I mean, I almost couldn't breathe for a couple minutes. You could cut glass. Let's put it like that. This woman went out. She said, "Fuck a bras." Like, let's get out here. I got a scene to shoot.
This titty nibble, baby, they nibbling.
Yeah, damn. That's all I gotta say. But other than Kelly being hot, Peg's kind of up in a roar because the cable's just not working. She wants to watch this and that. And she's like, there's just like a bunch of weird stuff on here. She's like, I don't
Turn
know. Like, and Kelly's like, well, do I need to call somebody? And she's like, I don't know. And then Al comes in and he's like, hey, Peg, something wrong with the cable? Because he seems to know something. You know what I mean?
How's Oprah? Well, there is no Oprah. And guess what? There won't be an Oprah tomorrow either because he had the cable company take it all off. He's got the men's channel now,
Guy package, Steve.
the guy package.
Fucking,
Pause.
it's only for men and some female tennis players, if you know what I'm talking about. And this allows for him just because he's out working all the time. He's got to come home. And on the weekends, there's only so much time on the weekend for a man to enjoy himself before he has to go back to the grind and sell women's shoes. You know what I'm saying? So there's no time for Oprah. There's no time for this or that. He's got to watch guy shit. You know what I mean? So that's why he did it.
Centerfold Weed Whacker Murders.
Hell
on the
yeah.
Guy channel.
Tonight on the Guy Channel, how to bust without your wife knowing. But Peg, she's off to Marcy's to watch women's TV, whatever the fuck that is, Steve. Dumb
Mhm.
rods. I was like, Kelly, let me catch you up on the Centerfold Weed Whacker murders, okay? That guy's trying to bust a nut on that chick. It's all connected by dicks going into this. It's basically he's watching Cinemax porn or getting ready to. But because like right when he's getting like explaining the story, he's like, actually, you know what? This is the part where you actually got to leave and let Daddy watch this by himself. You know,
Yeah.
Dad needs
And
some
then
alone time.
and then Bud comes in and he's got some good news. He was chosen to be in a research study for human behavior, and they're paying him $300. So now he can hook up with Amber. He's got some bread coming in. Kelly says, "Oh yeah, right. Like she's coming to try to see you again after your whole movie theater popcorn trick." And then right as she says that, Amber comes in and she gets an applause. I think this is our first time seeing her, but she's just a hot chick, so we're just applauding everybody.
Where is she from? Does she live like in the neighborhood or something? Like I don't know who Amber is. She apparently her and Bud have a little bit of something going on. They got a playful
Something.
back and forth. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, she's got no backstory apparently.
It's very Casey Jones, April O'Neil in the first Ninja Turtles movie. It's a very love hate relationship because Bud's very like, yeah, let me just grab some of those tits. I mean, he doesn't even hide it. You know, he's just like, it's not very clever. He's telling her straight up. And I mean, to be honest with you, Steve, I mean, the man's just he's a direct lover. You know what I'm saying? He knows what he wants and he's not shy to tell a woman about that, you know? So
But
respect.
he apologizes. He tells Amber, "Look, I may have been a little too forward with you the past. Oh yeah, like when you grabbed my sweater and said honk honk."
He's like, yeah, okay. Again, my bad. I'm trying to be a better man. So I'm just asking you, maybe this Friday we get together, your pants, my pants. I don't know. Whichever one you want to take off, lover. Okay.
You know, bud, we have minds too. And then Kelly comes down. She's looking at the TV guide and she's like, Beverly Hills, 90,210.
Yeah, so Amber, chill out, you know. But Amber's out. Jefferson's in because the kids leave, and Jefferson's like, dude, Al, help me, please. I get home after a long day of billiards, and I'm just trying to enjoy my crib, and my wife's over here watching some kind of damn thing about Oprah about guys living off women. It's like, where do they get this shit? As they're talking, Jefferson's like, "Hey, dude, not for nothing. What is that switch over there by your kitchen, like counter? What is that? Because it's like in a weird spot." And I was like, you know what, Jefferson, dude, that's why nobody fucking wants to fuck around with you. He gets real like in his face for a second. He's like, you're always bringing up shit. You know,
Yeah.
why don't you just chill out? Watch this half a porno I got on on the guy fucking channels. And then we cut to a little bit later, and I was fucking around with the switch because he got into him, and I've been here too, where you're like, what does this fucking do?
Yeah.
We've
On
all
second
had a
thought.
switch like this, you know?
And Jefferson's helping him out. As Al is holding one of the switches, Jefferson, he pulls a blue wire and Al bumps his head.
Yeah.
And the ladies are seeing this from the kitchen. They're like, just call an electrician. And this is like the typical male, like machismo approach in a sitcom. Like, oh, I'm not calling a plumber. I'm not calling an electrician or a carpenter. I'll do it myself. I'm a man.
I don't need to ask for directions. I'm a man,
Yeah, I don't
bro.
need a mechanic.
That's going on. Cut to a lab that Bud Bundy got this crazy deal for like 3 hundo for some sort of experiment. It's very lawnmower man, Steve. You know,
Very,
and I gotta say, I lived in LA for a while, and I tried to get into like this thing where you like get paid for medical experiments because I was desperate for money. So I get this. Bud's being sort of brought into this. He's being like shown the technology and stuff by this real hot scientist, Steve, just a very luscious vixen of a scientist. And turns out the actual study itself is not just about human, just like behavior. It's about human sexuality. So
gonna
right away,
study.
I'm thinking like, is this scientist the one that I'm gonna have to get to bang? Like, is that what this is?
And he's all for it because he's got his clothes off and he even has a condom on underneath his boxers. Well, slow down. You're going to be wearing this cyber suit. And Bud asks, who will I be boinking? And she says, your image of the perfect mate.
Okay. So he's got to get into like a lawnmower man suit, and then he's put onto like a this crazy chair. I mean, this is very like dystopian RoboCop like '90s shit, where it's like put this suit on. He goes into like he's being more explained about this from the doctor who invented it, Dr. Kessler, who's basically going to be monitoring Bud's I busting like from a separate room. Like he's just like keeping track of his brain waves and his dick waves and all like the amount of
His dick
bust.
waves?
I mean, they're sitting there. They connect the last wire to his dick, Steve. So
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
I don't know what the scientific term for dick waves is, but whatever that is, okay.
man, I would Google it, but not on this computer.
But it's like VR Troopers, Steve, and this is truly what I thought when we got into the internet and we heard what cyber sex was. This is more what I was thinking it was going to be. Like you get into a suit, you get thrown into the matrix, some chick gets on top, bing bang boom, and you're bust. It's almost like a nocturnal emission.
Maybe Married with Children saw into the future because I mean, Joaquin Phoenix had a whole damn relationship with a computer. So
Roger and Zapp were trying to tell us about it for a long time. Honestly, I think that was the '80s. So Bud basically hit the jackpot. If I would have known about this and I could have gotten paid $300 to cyberly bust, please, by all means, pay me to do this. Sign me up.
and Bud, he's in virtual reality world, but then all of a sudden Amber pops up. Bud approaches her. He can see himself. He's actually in this virtual reality world. And he's like, so what do we do now? We have sex.
And, Amber in real life, she's about women's liberation. She's constantly like zinging him. He's not getting enough sniz. But Cyber Amber, she's all about. I mean, she tackles him, puts him on some kind of weird, like Roman fucking like tablature of some kind,
Yeah.
something, and he's basically just ravaged by his ideal woman, Steve. And then we cut out to like real life and see the reality of this, where two doctors are just watching some guy like air hump. It's very
Yeah.
weird,
We don't
like
we
that.
don't know about this. And the hot doctor's like, let's get a second opinion. So she asked the janitor, what does this look like to you? It looks like I'm gonna need a bigger mop.
Is this guy did he sign up to be a professional jizz mopper? Because I'd be like, I signed up to be a janitor in a science place, not clean up after fucking Junior jizzes his pants over
Jizz
here.
was never on the table when I took this job.
Yeah, I told them specifically, I'm out.
Yeah.
Okay, I worked in the nudie booth section. Okay, I did that. I've earned my stripes to be here. So that guy has a terrible life. He gets a zinger in, but now cut back to Owls. There's still a switch thing. I mean, they can't figure it out. Owls, he's sitting there. Jefferson's, I think, upstairs, and Owl
He's
like flips
upstairs.
it. Jefferson gets like 10,000 volts, comes down looking like Marv in Home Alone 2, just completely voltaged out, Steve.
Eraserhead and Al like Jefferson's pissed now. So now he takes two of the wires and puts them in Al's ear. Like this is one of the things like I feel like Married with Children, I feel like this is around the time they jumped the shark. I was still watching it, but once they started getting Looney Tunes with it, and
Yeah,
the
it's
same
very,
like,
it's that. It's very that. But I still love
yeah,
it. It's
yeah,
fun.
I still loved it.
Peg's like, dude, can you please, for God's sake, you're about to kill someone with this snuff. And he's like, okay, chill. Everyone, you got to break a couple eggs to make an omelet, Peg. By the way, I called in some heavy duty artillery here to help us out. He called in Bob Rooney, one of the homies, Steve. And Peg's like,
Bob
he's a
Rooney?
fucking butcher. What does this guy know about anything? Exactly. He's bringing in a different perspective, Peg. We don't
Yeah.
think like a butcher does. This guy's probably going to come at it with a different thing. And he's suited and booted up. I mean, he's got
He,
all
he
the
looks
shit. Bob Vila would blush, Steve.
he looks the part. Now, Bob Rooney, tell us where the circuit box is. It's outside. Oh, see? Told you.
Bitch. So they walk outside. Peg and Marcy, who've been watching this kind of like train wreck unfold, they go out because they want to see a death. Because that's basically what they're about to see here. These guys are fucking around with electricity. You know what I'm saying? Amber and Kelly come in. Amber for all the bluster, all the sass that she's been throwing at Bud. She's a little bit worried. She's clearly like, maybe I stepped over the line. Maybe I need to give him a shot. And Kelly, even to her credit, even though she usually trashes Bud, is like, honestly, all I can tell you is he really does like you. So Amber's like, okay, maybe I'll figure this out. Maybe I'll take him up on that date, you know?
And then when Bud comes in, Amber approaches him and says, I was thinking about your invite. And you know what, Bud? I'm free on Friday.
Mm.
Well, you could spend it with Mr. Cooper, bitch, because I don't give a fuck.
Bye. So clearly, Bud has a thing for Amber in virtual reality because this whole real Amber thing, he's like, whatever. You don't do the things she does. Can you spin like a top? I'm just saying. So this, Kelly's a little bit weird about this. She's trying to obviously she's trying to stick up for her brother. So that's kind of like a thing she's putting herself out there for. But we cut to later. Al's called every member of No Ma'am that he can get now to get in on this wire thing. Honestly, I don't even know what's happened because he's sitting in the same seat. There's only been one or two wires. Now he's got like a basketball sized wire ball, just like fucking around, Steve.
And Bob Rooney, he's missing. He's been missing for the last 2 days.
Shit, Bob's in the wall. We know exactly where he's at. Bob's just trying to find this wire. Also, just like in this weird like break the fourth wall moment, like Al stops, like time stops, and he's like, "Wait, my whole life's like flashing before my eyes, and that only happens when." And then he takes like the full like whatever that is, like the green miles worth of electricity in that ball. Okay.
Dude,
It's not good, Steve. No, ma'am, they're of no help. These guys they're men's men, but they don't know how shit about home electricity, you know?
and Kelly comes down and she's concerned about Bud. She tells Al that she hasn't seen Bud at night in the last couple of days. He hasn't showered in the last couple of days, and he seems to have lost total interest in the opposite sex. Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, he's
He's
not
not
married.
married yet.
Yeah. So something's wrong. Put an exclamation point on that. Bud comes down looking just greasy, Steve. He's got a box of shit. He's like, I'm going to need this anymore. And Kelly looks in the box. She's like, wait, this is all of your porno and rubber dolls. Like, what's going on here? He's like, that shit. I don't need that anymore. I'm sucked dry, dude.
You know what? I don't need Amber anymore. I got her. I got her. This is the breakthrough we've been waiting for in a long time. No more of this chasing tail and waiting at the bar for the right lady to come by. No, 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 no.
We about to cyber. Again,
It's all up
he's
here.
into it, Steve. He's into that. I used to like try to cyber sex with people all the time on AOL. I used to love what I thought talking to a hot lady who's like, "Ooh, tell me more, big boy," and you're just like typing gross stuff to him. I used to
Who
do
didn't?
that.
Who didn't?
It was a different kind of when we couldn't get a porno tape. You never know. The mind's an incredible thing. I thought I was talking to a woman that looked like Jenny McCarthy one time on AOL. We just had cyber sex for like 2 hours while I was trying to make sure my parents didn't walk down. It was one of those.
And bitch look like Andrew McCarthy.
And George Washington's on the other end with wooden teeth.
Man, on a
Like,
wig.
show me your ass. Like, okay.
Does it
Um,
get bigger?
but, like I said, Bud, he's figured it out. He knows. He knows that, women, he knows what Terminator people know in the future. I can bust without all of the hassle.
And lab, Kelly, she shows up because she's trying to run an interference. And she goes by the name Dr. Von Bundy. She specializes in nuclear chemistry.
That's good enough for me because she's talking to the doctor who like invented it that we met earlier. And she's like, so explain this to me. She's being very professorial. She would have gotten me right away because she's hot, Steve. And
Yeah,
he's
she
trying
was
to
out.
go through it, and she's like, "Oh, really? You think you're going to replace women? You think that?" And he's like, "Yeah, like what I'm doing is going to replace all the embarrassment men have to go through to get tail and this, that, and the other." And she's like, "You think you're going to replace this?" and just like she doesn't get naked, Steve, but she pulls off that lab coat in a very sexy way. And
Yeah.
all the morality that this doctor had, he's like, you know what? Let me just put this thing on autopilot so we can get down. So I guess Kelly's in here really just she's taking one for the team, Steve. She's about to take a nut for I don't know what we don't know is about to happen here. But salute to
Yeah.
Kelly. I would have done it.
She's not wrong. I mean, you can't replace the real thing. And then while that's going on, Amber comes in and she replaces one of the discs because something that we glossed over, like I guess the doctor has like a file of gorillas doing the same thing. Like there's a virtual reality of gorillas
Well, that's
mating.
the first version of this test.
The
They
first
tested it
version.
on
Yeah.
gorillas, made sure, that they got the correct amount of bus ratio out of those animals, and then got directly to the missing link, which was Bud, who's like another animal that just is in need of some relief. So she puts in that tape and she's like throws it on and we hear Bud start he's like, wait, what the hell? Ah! So God knows, Steve, he's got raped by a gorilla in virtual reality, I think.
Pack of albino gorillas. And back at the house, Al, he still doesn't know where that switch goes. And he's getting shocked. He's been getting shocked the last couple days. And then Peg, she's just like, it's time to give it a rest. Al just gives her a hug and she gets all the jolts.
uh, and she's like, take me to bed, Al. And he's gotta go throw down that electrical dick, Steve. So he leaves. Amber and Kelly are watching TV with Bud, and Bud's like, he's back to his old self because he's sitting there like, oh yeah, baby, you know what
Yeah.
I love, baby, yeah,
Yeah.
baby.
Who talks like this in front of women? Who
Yeah,
talks like this at all at a TV? But he's
with
giving
one, I mean, the sister, whatever. You can say whatever the fuck, and it's whatever. Like you don't give a fuck. But
yeah,
Amber's supposed to be his love, but he's locked in. They're happy to have the old Bud back. But then when we see what Bud's watching, Steve, it seems like maybe that VR shit maybe knocked the switch loose. No pun
yeah,
intended from the episode because he's watching like gorilla footage from BBC and he's like, "Yeah, baby, you know what
yeah.
I like with that ass."
Shake that booty.
Ass to ass. He goes full on with it. But that's what he likes, Steve. Some people like butter in the ass and lollipops in their mouth. Bud likes a nice, healthy bestiality porn, and that's really what the episode ends with. It's
But
pretty fucked up.
But later that night, Al comes back downstairs and you hear Peg saying, "Don't mess with that switch again." It's like, "I'm not." But he proceeds to mess with the switch. And then we cut to outside, and the whole time this switch was going to Buck's doghouse.
I mean, the doghouse has a damn like a light fixture in it, which is crazy. So I get you don't necessarily know, but I mean, damn,
Yeah.
all that work. But you know what, Steve? Another great episode. It got a little Looney Tunes, but just the
Yeah.
cyber sex, I felt very nostalgic about that. This wasn't the kind of cyber sex Matt G was trying to have. Mine was more of a lyrical, more of a written word sex. You know what I'm saying? A little poetry, flowetry, if you will.
Cocktails over there. And on that same day in 1995, In the House premieres on NBC. Lasts 5 seasons, 76 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
Marion Hill, LL Cool J, is a former professional football player. Because of his financial predicament, Marion is forced to rent out most of the rooms in his house to newly divorced single mother Jackie Warren, played by Debbie Allen, and her two children, Tiffany, played by Maya Campbell, and Austin, Jeffrey Wood. Maya Campbell was another crush in my preteen years.
I don't remember. I never watched this show. I wasn't a huge LL Cool J fanatic of like the acting side at this point.
Maya Campbell was representing for the Chocolate Honeys out here, man.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes. Yep. Damn. She's definitely representing now, Steve. Damn. Okay.
Now I'm 41. I got a crush on Debbie Allen. Debbie Allen's sexy to me. Shit. I think this was the second time that a sitcom was starring a rapper because this aired on Monday nights. I remember it was a part of NBC's Monday Night Block the same night as Fresh Prince. And they wanted to tie In the House with that success, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, this is what happens. People try to like replicate something that's super popular, you know. And this did come off the back of it. It has Alfonso fucking Ribeiro in it, so obviously they had like a little touch of that. Yeah, I just didn't really. I mean, this has a lot of hitters. I see Lark Voorhees was in some episodes of
She
this.
was.
John
Kim
Amos was in this shit, which I love.
Kim
Legend.
Kim Wayans.
Some hottie named Paulette Braxton, who I'd love to say hello to. But yeah, I just never caught into this one. But shout out. I mean, it. How many seasons did it get?
5 seasons, man, and
Eh,
I think it ended on
major.
UPN. Yeah, it started on NBC, but yeah. Shout out to LL, one of my favorite of all time. But 1998, The Odd Couple 2 premieres. Oscar and Felix take a road trip to their son and daughter's wedding. Directed by Howard Deutsch, starring Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, Christine Baranski, Bernard Hughes, Jonathan Silverman, and Gene Smart.
I mean, this movie just talk about capitalizing on so much stuff. Not only are you capitalizing off the original movie, which was made in like the 70s.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think I saw on the IMDb description that this actually has the designation of the longest gap between sequels because they made the first movie and then they made this like what, like I said, probably like 30 years after the fact. So that's pretty cool.
Right.
But this is just a great combination, dude. You know,
I
it
mean,
works.
it was a winning formula. Lemon and Mathau, Mathau and Lemon. And this was their last co-starring feat together because Mathau, he would pass away 2 years later in 2000, and Jack Lemmon would pass away that following year, 2001. But this movie, honestly, it didn't scratch the surface with me. I watched this one as well, and it's not like the original. First, it's just nonsensical, and I can buy into the naivete for only so long.
I think what this was, Steve, was that they saw what they got with Grumpy Old Men, which was good, you know.
And the sequel,
And it was basically this. It was this. It was a guy
yeah,
who was like, you know, it was the same exact formula, and they it paid off. And they tried to get. They're like, how can we capitalize and not call it Grumpy Old Men? They're like, you know what? Let's just make a sequel. And they did. That's basically all they had. So yeah, the quality. It just sucks that this was like the last thing they did because they were like the duo. You know, they were at the tip top of the heap of comedy duos of all time. Even to this day, dude. Watch fucking Grumpy Old Men 1 or 2. Makes you laugh your ass off.
still classics. On that same day in 98, Species 2 premieres. An astronaut gets infected with alien DNA during the first mission on Mars and runs amok on Earth. Preston and Laura team up with a peaceful, genetically re-engineered Syl to track the monster down. Directed by Peter Maddock, starring Michael Madsen, Natasha Henstridge, Marge Helgenberger, McKelty Williamson, George Zunza, James Cromwell, and Justin Lazard.
Did you watch it, Steve?
I watched it and it was pissing me off, Matt.
I told you. I told you. Because I've seen this and I knew it sucked, but it was like a good titty flick.
It is.
You know, it's that. But now I remember the story and why. It's just a hilarious story. Like, you kind of got it from the description, but this guy goes to space. He gets infected with some kind of disease. They throw him in some sort of like quarantine. They're like, look, you can't fuck for like 10 days. And he's like, well, fuck that. Fucks a couple of chicks. Gets them like, they impregnate immediately because it's some sort of alien inside of him. He's like infected with some alien shit. And then the lady who was the horny alien from the first one is now a clone named Syl, who's less, it's more of a docile, like it's the nice version of this thing, you know, and they're trying to use. And there's some connection between her and this like guy who's infected and fucking women and stuff. And it's that, Steve. You know, there's a lot of fucking, there's a lot of gunplay. Eventually, I think they're like trying to get to each other to fuck. And I think they eventually do fuck, which leads at the end to some sort of cliffhanger where I'm sure they made a Species 3.
They made a couple more sequels.
Yeah. But Natasha Henstridge, hottie of the 90s, beautiful
That
woman, beautiful lady, very sultry, very sexy, very just comfortable with her body, Steve, because she's not clothed for a lot of this movie. It's a good titty flick. You know, as a kid, I loved it for 10 to 15 minutes for it to do what I needed. But the actual movie itself, it's not going to win an Oscar, and it's not even bad enough to win like a Razzie. You know, it's just kind of there.
yeah, it's pretty mid. You do get some Natasha Henstridge titty and ass. She's cheeked up. I didn't know she was blessed in the posterior.
She looks like a person who plays like beach volleyball. She's got like one of those bodies where she's just like shredded, but also got some nice curves to her. So she'd be again. I don't know what she looks like now. Beautiful woman. We even get some Michael Madsen in this. You know, you get a little of that. Get a couple other hitters in it, but if you're going to watch any of the Species movies, I'd say just go to the first one because it's kind of a better movie, and you know, it's just better than this. That's the best I can say.
But any callbacks, honorable mentions, or takeaways?
um, well, you know, Steve, I was going to pull out the '90s trivia.
Let's do it.
You want to do it? You think you
I
can go
killed it.
2 weeks in a row, 2 for 2? Okay, let's just see because I don't know, Steve.
Marijuana affects the memory.
You know, I don't know. We'll see here. So I picked a random card out of the deck. Steve. Steve G. Are you ready? I just love my sound effects. I'm sorry, I'm a ham, but first one, Steve, it's a gimme. You're welcome in advance. Which singer had a hit with Baby Got Back?
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
I'm going to give you a hint, Steve,
All right.
because we talked about Kanye West. Kanye West has mentioned this person in a song. That's all I'm going to give you.
All right.
Which fashion designer created Madonna's famous pointy coned bra for her 1990 Blonde Ambition World Tour?
I think this question was asked already, and I didn't know it then, and I don't know it now.
Well, I feel bad, so we're going to go to another question. But I'm just going to tell you it's John Paul Gaultier.
John Paul Gaultier.
They
Fucking
say he
bitch.
bougie, he big headed. Would you please stop talking about how my dick headed? Okay. I'm gonna give you this, Steve, and I just pray for you, okay? But you should know this. It's in there somewhere, so just kind of think back. In what year was Google founded?
Google,
Google.
1998.
Oh!
Oops, winning.
You did it, Steve. 98. Google. Google it. Check the fucking facts out here. This guy knows his shit. I need to send you these cards so you can ask me these questions. Because I like trivia too, Steve. And I also
I,
want to say I did trivia the other night, and it was like video trivia, and there were people that were so autistic and fast at answering. You couldn't even hear the question. They were like, and it was done. We were just ravaged in trivia, but you're a killer, Steve.
I pick your brain throughout this show from time to time.
Well, you know what? I'm a wealth of useless knowledge, and I'm happy to give you some of that. Okay. Now, I'd like to transfer the pressure over to you. Do you have anything you'd like to just end this episode on? This banger of a fucking episode?
Before the Wi-Fi dies again. 1993, SNL is airing musical guest Peter Gabriel with special host Jason Alexander. Classic, as you could imagine, man. This is
Hell
the one with you like it the Jews, yeah? You like the Jews.
yeah. You like it, the Jews?
And then David Spade comes in the end. I think you should end this skit. You think we should end this skit, yeah? It's going over too long, yes?
I
Yeah.
do want to. I think the juice is honestly delicious, though, Steve. I always wanted the juice.
The Jews in 1999 SNL again with Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers with the host John Goodman. Let's
Oh,
just say the man is the king of the 90s. Like, you know, he's all over the place. If it's not SNL, it's Roseanne or a movie that he's starring in. The man was a silent killer. But please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Please ask your sister, can I kick it?
yes, we can.
Can I kick it?
Yes, we can.
Check out our guy Ronzilla on TikTok, Wrestling with Ronzilla, as well as Crushgasm every Wednesday, and our guy Clark the Shark on Podcastle. This is Steve G and Mad G with
Happened in the 90s.
Matt was the fat kid, Steve was the flat kid. Life wasn't always great, but you know what was? The 90s. Happened in the 90s. Yeah!